Good afternoon, everyone. Our reception committee consists of 3 co-chairmen, Denise Crow, Lynn Pigosh, and myself, Lori Nazy. Our helpers today are abundant. We have Sharon Faber, Connie Lambert, Donna Johnson. Where's Pat? Pat Usack over here, and Rochelle Joseph in the very back. Thank you to our helpers. Okay, the idea here is that at the end of this reception, those tables need to be emptied. Okay, that's your job. So we welcome all of you. What an awesome group of parishioners we have here this afternoon. Thanks very much for coming. A few words from Lori before I turn it over to all the men. So the logo, Remember, Rebuild, Renew, got me reflecting and remembering just what Maternity Parish has meant to myself and my family through the years. Baptism, first communions, confirmations, graduations, 3 out of 4 of our kids' weddings were here, so a lot. And what about our traditional Catholic funerals here? Just beautiful. Many of our grandkids attend school here and at the MAC site. And a good friend of ours who is a substitute teacher at many of the surrounding Bradley and Bourbonnais schools just made the comment yesterday that when she subs here, she feels so good. She doesn't even feel like she should take a paycheck because the kids are so well behaved. So that makes us very proud here. There also is a waiting list for interested people to get into this school. So our church and our school are a perfect combination and truly a treasure here in Bourbonnais. Our grounds are beautiful. One of my favorite spots is our grotto. It's just like our own private retreat area in honor of our Blessed Mother. A great place to reflect, ask for answers, prayers, and really pray in utmost thanksgiving and gratitude for what we have. How great was it that the parishioners 175 years ago, oh my gosh, they had so much less than any of us do today, but they had a vision, and then they made the sacrifice to build and pass on this historic place to us. We appreciate that Father Jason realizes how important it is for us to preserve this piece of history that was handed down to us. Father Jason.
Thank you so much, Lori, and I would like to echo the thanks for all it took to make these receptions happen, the beautiful setting, the wonderful desserts and snacks, and I also want to thank our parish staff for all of their efforts and getting the word out and the communications. And present with us today is Julie Warby for her countless hours of tireless efforts in this capital campaign. And also that of Thomas Dolce, who you will get to meet a little bit later today, our project manager for this capital campaign. It's so good to see so many of you, so thank you for your time and effort for coming out today. It's lest we take for granted, it wasn't so long ago that this room was empty, and if we did have people in here, we all sat far apart. So it's a blessing anytime we can have this room filled with parishioners. And what a blessing from God, because it's not just a room full of parishioners, but you come out today because this is your church. You embrace this as your church. You're concerned about your church, and you're interested in learning more about how to help your church. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here today. As we begin this conversation, we first look to God, to give thanks to God, but also to ask for God's blessings on this day and God's blessings on this effort which we are about to undertake. So, there's either a prayer card, a bookmark, or on the back of your program, if you could please locate the Capital Campaign Prayer, and together we will offer this prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Together we pray. Loving God,
in this time in the life of our parish, we turn to you with grateful hearts for what we have and with great anticipation for what is yet to be. Bless us with a sense of unity, a spirit of cooperation, and a generous heart as we face the responsibilities and challenges of this undertaking. We know there is much to do. We believe our goals are rooted in your word and in your work. Please guide us, strengthen us, and bless us with your presence, now and in the years to come. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
and so today, as we have this conversation about the capital campaign, it is quite a bold direction in which we are going. It first began with the need to address the stones in the church, and we will hear more about how this came about. Today we will hear from the general chairperson of our capital campaign, Steve Husak, whom I thank greatly for taking this role and for being in this process since day one. And also too, Dale Pigosh, who serves on the Buildings and Grounds Committee. He could talk about some of the particulars of what will be addressed. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Steve Husak.
Well, welcome and thank you for coming this afternoon. I'd like to dispel a rumor first off. This happened a few weeks before the Capital K began, and honestly, it was not Father Jason who did it. He volunteered to be in this campaign, and I also should say that it wasn't my wife. I'll let you guess how it really happened. Anyway, my name is Steve Husak. That's my wife, Pat Husak, in the back. She's next to the wine. We've been married 53 years. We have 3 children, all married here at Maternity BBM. We have 4 grandchildren, of which 2 were baptized here at Maternity BBM. We've been at Maternity BBM for 37 years. We actually left once and came back. I'm a Eucharistic minister. I'm on the parish council. I told you about the capital campaign. And I'm also a member of our Fishers of Men group. And the only commercial I'd like to make is that the Fishers of Men group meets on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock. We have a gentleman, Mickey Pro, who guides us to read the Sunday readings. And Father Moses is there, and we discuss them. And we've been meeting for well over a year. And it really is a wonderful opportunity to discuss the Gospels, but also to get to know a bunch of really fine men. So I'd like to invite any man who would like to attend, then, or woman, 7 o'clock Saturday mornings. Okay. Why are we here today? Well, obviously we're here to learn more about the repairs that are needed to keep our church buildings safe and sound. The other day I was coming out of St. Mary's, and as you walk over to the parking lot, you have a view of St. Rose's. I don't know what happened really with St. Rose's. I feel sad about it. You know, it's such a lovely structure, but beginning to look, rather in disrepair. And that's what happens when things happen as it did for St. Rose. Now, Certainly that will not happen here, but I'm really pleased that, Father Jason decided that we need to get started to correct some things here that we never really get to that kind of position. Second, I think we're all here today because we love our church community. We love its people. We are proud of our church building and its history, and as always, are ready to share our time, our talents, and our treasures to assure its future. So how did we get here today? Well, you all recall St. Francis of Assisi, that famous Viator or Franciscan?
Close enough.
Saint. He was praying in a church that needed a lot of work. And he heard the Lord said, Francis, rebuild my church. Well, Father Jason was praying a few years ago and had that same prayer and realized that he really had to get people back to church after COVID circumstances and also to address the deterioration of our church structures. So what did he do? How did he get started? Well, the first thing he did was commissioned a 175-year church anniversary celebration to celebrate and promote our church community and its commitment to missionary discipleship. Many of us were here last Sunday for the final event that was held on our grounds, and what a wonderful time, and how wonderful the grotto looked. Along with the church. There are so many people, a couple of our audience, that have spent many, many years taking care of the church and the grotto, and we're really pleased that we were able to get that taken care of when we took care of the front of the church. Second, Father created a building and grounds committee to address the building issues and problems, and I'll be speaking about that. And then obviously, too, he agreed to support a capital campaign to provide funding for the most serious building problems that we're going to discuss today. My role is to share with you a little bit how the Building and Grounds Committee got started, and then Dale Pigosh will share with you why the improvements for our buildings couldn't and can't wait much longer. In August of 2021, Father formed the Building and Grounds Committee, and we were really fortunate to have a committee of very experienced, knowledgeable, and successful business people. I'd like to just introduce them to you. Rich Gerard, an electrician and owner of Gerard Electric. Marty Warby, owner and operator of a roofing repair and systems company. Perry Deneau, a manager of a local plumbing concern and local businessman. Art Mantone, recent owner and operator of Arts Landscaping. Dale Pigosh, as I mentioned, recent owner and operator of PSI, a local commercial industrial general contractor who really knows our church properties very well. Also in the committee, Paul Hogan, our maintenance manager, Christina McCullough, and of course, Father. These gentlemen committed to our parish, to its buildings. We committed to make the improvements with the quality in mind, the cost, and the time to get the work done. And I have to tell you, I'm proud to have gotten to know them. They are hands-on men. We saw them throughout some of the projects, actually with screwdrivers, actually with tools, helping out, but also assuring that the work was being met according to their qualifications. I'd say that they're penny pinching also, from the standpoint that they want to make sure that the money that's provided is spent as wisely as possible. Responsible and reliable people, we're certainly glad to have them and thank them for the great work that they have done. How did the Building and Grounds Committee get started? Well, back in October of 2020, the diocese provided an architectural study of all our grounds and buildings. We got a report. It was 63 pages long, and it assessed 4 separate areas: the church, the rectory, the school, and the overall site. And it provided a listing of items that needed to be addressed immediately, up to 2 years, up to 4 years, all the way up to 10. They also estimated the cost, And at that time, it looked like it was going to be over $2.5 million to make all the improvements that were necessary. So after studying the report in October of last year, 2021, we took a tour of the facility. And having looked, it was immediately obvious much had to be done to prepare for the 175th anniversary celebration, and much had to be done to stop the deterioration. And that was, tuck pointing, repairs to the doors, peeling paint, dead trees, a whole variety of things that really needed to be taken care of. Around the same time, we discovered some cracks upstairs on the second floor of the church. They were pretty large. We called in the diocesan architectural firm again, and they put some measuring devices on the cracks to assure that we could continue to keep the church open. Because if the church cracks would have gotten bigger, there could have been an issue of safety, and other steps would have been necessary. The good report, I guess, the good news was that in February of 2022, we noted the cracks did not move. So we were safe to operate. However, the report that we received was that we cannot wait to repair the tuck pointing, because at that point we were having bulk water intrusion into that masonry wall, and further deterioration of the church walls was possible. And it was deemed that we should not wait another winter, so we got started in the late spring looking for tuck pointing firms, and indeed you saw that work has been completed. Now I'm going to ask Dale to come up to give you some more details about the projects. It's been a pleasure working with Dale. He's taught me a lot. He's a contractor, I guess, that is dedicated to quality. I actually caught him out here measuring the amount of the grout that was being removed. He built a little tool to make sure that things are going well. And talking with him.
Thank you, Steve, and welcome everyone for coming this afternoon. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dale Pigosh, and I've been a member of Eternity Parish since I was born, 1953. Don't need to do the math. I'm the baby of 6 siblings, all who went to Notre Dame Convent. A few of us, the younger siblings, we finished grade school at the new maternity school, which was built in 1860. My mother and father were married in the maternity BVM rectory in August 1st of 1941. My father being of the Lutheran faith, they were not allowed to get married in the church at that time. So, basically they had to get married in the priest's house. And my father said, "I said, this is going to work out here." They were married for 60 years. So. Being a French Canadian, my mother's maiden name was Rivard. And we're related to most everyone in the parish in the early days, and a lot of people in this room, I'm looking around. So. More distantly anyhow, and I'm married to my high school sweetheart over here of 48 years. 40 years later, and I'm suffering through it. So. We have 3 children, Neil, Scott, and Lauren. Neil and Scott live in Bourbonnais with their wives and their children, and are members of Maternity Church and Parish, and their kids go to McNamara School. They're all baptized here, all our kids, our grandkids, and they're all married here. So it's quite a heritage. Our daughter Lauren and her husband, who was married here, she lives out in Costa Mesa, California. Her and her husband, and he was Lutheran, and they got married in the church. And their baby was baptized here not too long ago. So, directly after I graduated from 8th grade, I landed a job at 13 years old working for Morse Marquette here at Maternity BVM Parish. My freshman, sophomore, and junior years in high school. It was the best. And there's Marsh's daughter right there, Deb. So, we did everything from digging graves and cleaning toilets, painting walls, you name it, we did it all. And That was before they had subcontractors, because we just had to do everything ourselves. My love and roots for maternity go way back, my life for me, and that is why I'm standing here in front of you today. As many of our ancestors helped build our original stone church with volunteer help and gifts 175 years ago, I'm here today to help explain why it's time for us to rebuild and maintain Maternity Physical Church and buildings on this property. Okay. Basically, as Steve mentioned earlier, we have a very diverse group of knowledgeable folks on the Buildings and Grounds Committee, so it's been great working with all those folks, and everybody has a little different facet they can add to the comments and all the repairs that we need to do. Now, if you folks want to follow along in your brochure on page 5, there's a summary of some of the lists that we have summarized. Start with the purple part at the top, the cost overview. The following numbers illustrated with you. Anyway, the rectory, this is the purple areas are the stuff that we did this summer and are completed. Replaced flooring and furniture, painted the front office, and treated the roof of the rectory. Okay, the church, these are all church items. We tuck pointed the church complete. Repaired and repainted walls of back to St. Vitus, removed the ivy, repaired the damaged front doors, repaired the light in the steeple, hasn't been on for years, re-landscaped areas around the plaza, repaired and retreated benches on the plaza, replaced fencing around the air conditioners, repaired the shed area to the basement of St. Vitus Hall, replaced windows, removed the dormer on St. Vitus Hall roof, because it was basically worthless and rotten, we didn't need it. It was just to put a light into the attic when they stored things. Recoated the roof on the church, repaired, replaced downspouts and gutters, and eventually in the future we're going to need to build a fund to replace the roof of the church. The last time it was done was in hailstorm of 1996, but it's still in good repair for the time being. So on the grounds we repainted the statues of the grottos, tuck pointed the grotto complete, removed dead trees and dead branches on the property and added some lighting. Those are the things we did this summer. And a lot of these things, the tuck pointing was a necessity. Literally when I walked everybody around for the first walk, I took a screwdriver and I really didn't want to be on the Buildings and Grounds Committee. I really wanted to be on the Garden Committee. So I thought it was more fun to grow things than it is to fix things after 50 years of construction. But anyway, I showed them with a screwdriver how some of the mortar joints in the church you could actually, you could go in 6 or 7 inches in the bottom joints. The integrity of the church was being, compromised. Okay, so then as we go down, we look at the next things, basically priority 1 projects. These are some projects that have some priority to them. They need to be looked at heavily. Basically, replace the storm windows in the church for the stained glass windows. We need to replace those because a lot of them are bad. They got a multitude of different types of glass in them. If you look, you see there's probably 5 different types of glass in those windows. Plus, they create a lot of heat, which is not good for lead. Okay, so we need to do some lead repair on some of the stained glass windows also. On the church, we need some signage with some foundation lighting in the front. This has been Father's pet project, and it's got substance to it because we all know what maternity is, but you have a wedding, you have a funeral, you have an event. Everybody's just driving around in this Olivet. They don't know where they're at. So it's time to put some signage on the front of the church. The next item is replace the back doors in the sacristy of St. Vitus Hall. Those have been ordered. And grounds, signage for front doors. That's some Wayfair signage around the property so people know where to go when they need to go somewhere around here. A lot of people, even parishioners, don't really know where a lot of the different areas are to go to. So some Wayfair signage. It's not a big ticket, but it's something that needs to keep us current so people can utilize the facility better. The school boiler, that's a big one. It's 62 years old, okay? That's older than me. And But anyway, it's time. It's really time. It's, you know, I mean, we saw what happened to Kankakee schools last year. You know, they were scrambling for a place to have classes, and we need to be responsible and get moving forward on this. Even if we signed a contract today, boilers are probably, depending on what kind of boilers we order or find, or what vendor we work with, 3 to 6 months out. You know, all supply chain stuff. So everything's an issue. Everything's an issue. Nothing's on the shelf anymore. So, but anyway, that's a big item, and we need to really look at that soon. Upgrade technology in the Paris Center. That's here, so that way we can be more computerized. We don't. It's working today. So, but I mean, it's a small item, but it needs to be addressed so we can do better presentations in here and people can understand and hear better. That's been on the wish list for a while. And then we go to priority number 2 projects, replacing the ceiling in the gymnasium. It's been bad. It's a lot of, you know, it's had a lot of water damage over the years. But and repair sprinkler regulator in the religious education center in the school building. That is ongoing right now. That's $5,000. We need to get a monitor on that. So if basically you put sprinkler heads only in storage areas, okay, that's the regulation. You don't do it in the whole school, but you put it in storage areas. So if that head would go off over Christmas holidays or New Year's and nobody's here, the only way you're going to know is when the water's running out the front door. So we're getting that monitored. These are just a lot of conglomeration of a lot of things that haven't been done, thought of, or just need to be addressed. And time is the now. On the grounds, we repaired some cracked walkways and pathways. We need to replace some sidewalk. We couldn't get it quite done this year between labor shortages and concrete shortages. So we ground a lot of the edges of the walks to make them less hazardous for people so they don't trip. We intend to get that done next spring or summer. Resurfacing the parking lots, as you can see, you know, some of our church lots just, and, you know, some of our lots are getting pretty bad, and, you know, seal coating and crack filling doesn't work anymore. You know, it's beyond that. A storage building someday, sometime, we could sure use a place. They have nothing anywhere on his property to store anything other than father and his associates need to back their cars out of the garage so we can use it for storage. So, anyway, replace the roof, the school. The school roof, believe it or not, is 36 years old. It's been a lot of Band-Aids in 36 years, and Marty Warby's been, you know, challenged with constantly maintaining that and trying to mend it upon us, you know, but it's you can only put so many coats on top of coats on top of coats. So it's, you know, the school is, you know, 36 years old. The building we're in is 16 years old, and the research kindergarten center at the end is the library is 16 years old also. Okay, let me see where. Okay, then we have, you know, in the rectory. The rectory was built in 1983. It still has the original windows and kitchen. So, I mean, the windows are the old Pella windows, the old crankouts with the diamond grills in them that a lot of the vintage that was on there that some people liked was growing in all the cracks of all the windows, and it forces the windows. It screwed up a lot of them don't function anymore. Anyway, the windows are pretty bad repair, and a lot of them don't even open or function. So, okay, then we go to priority number 3: replace carpet in the basement. The basement of the church has a lot of carpet that's been, should I say, damp several times, you know, from floodwaters or whatever, sump pumps failures and different things, and it needs to be addressed. Okay, let me see. I double back here, didn't I?
You're on 4.
I'm on 4. I'm sorry. Thank you, Dad. Carpeting the parish offices in the rectory. That there's some carpet in there. Some of it's original. And in the church, we basically carpeting the St. Byers Hall in the back of it. It's very, very old. The school, this is the final wish list, and somebody asked the other day, well, why do we need to do that? Well, we don't need to do that, but if we had the money, we'd sure like to do this. Removal of the flooring in the old section of the Religious Education Center, the school, the building, basically, some of those areas have, 2 layers of carpet over, asbestos tile, and they can't take out the carpet because it'll come with the tile, so they just keep replacing the carpet on top of the other carpet is all we can do. Does it have to happen? No, but it sure be nice, And the diocese has their own abatement contractors that do all that for us, okay? And that's one of the things they had on their list that, if you ever can afford it, that's something they would like to see done too. So those are the overview of a lot of the things that, we need, and I could spend another hour and find you some more, but we won't go there today. This pretty much spent the budget. We will take questions at the end, and right now I'd like to introduce Tom Dolce. I just do this for a joke. Anyway, he's Guidance and Giving Incorporated. He's worked with Catholic parishes and dioceses for over 25 years. His company is currently working in parishes and dioceses throughout the United States.
Thank you, Dale. Good afternoon. Good crowd we have here today, Father. As Dale mentioned, my name is Tom Dolce, and I work for a company called Guidance and Giving. We're a national Catholic fundraising development firm working specifically with Catholic entities, be that schools, dioceses, archdioceses, and parishes. I've been doing this for over 25 years, traveling all over the United States, meeting new and different people, all Catholics. The one place I haven't been, like I have been to Alaska, Florida, I've been to Vermont, I've been to Massachusetts, New York, Illinois, Texas, California. I haven't been to Hawaii. Does anybody know any Catholics in Hawaii? See me after the meeting. But in all seriousness, I've been fortunate to work with the Catholic Church for these over 25 years. I've been married now for 22 years. I live in a little town of Hanover, Pennsylvania, where they make potato chips and pretzels with fruit. And I've already brought some pretzels to Steve, who loves pretzels, from Utz. It's a commercial break, thank you, Utz. My children went to Catholic schools there, Sacred Heart Catholic School for grammar school, and then DeLone Catholic for high school. My wife works for the Diocese of Harrisburg, which she's in the IT department and works with all the Catholic schools throughout the diocese. So we're a little bit entrenched in Catholicism, if as it were. So why are you here today? Why am I here? What are we doing? That's what the purpose of today's gathering is. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, I want to ask you to consider doing 3 things for us, for your parish. Is everyone familiar with stewardship? Is everyone familiar with stewardship? Yes. Excellent. I love the enthusiasm. Okay, so everybody knows the 3 T's of stewardship, right? Time, talent, treasure. Well, we're going to take those words, we're going to change them to words that begin with the letter P. For your time, I'm going to ask, just like we did in the beginning to get started, I'm going to ask you to pray. Okay? You have a prayer card, and you also have it on the back of your booklet, the campaign prayer. Okay, so you have 2 copies of it, which means you have no reason not to be able to pray. Okay? This card makes a great bookmark. If you're currently reading something, you can use this as a bookmark. Every time you pick up your book, pray the prayer. When you're done, you go to mark your page, pray the prayer. Gentlemen, this makes a great cover for your remote control by the television. So every time you go to pick up the remote, say the prayer. When you're done watching your favorite show or your sporting events, say the prayer. Okay? Can everybody do that? Yes. Okay. The second T, your talent. I'm going to ask that you help us promote the campaign. What does that mean? That means when you're out and about, you're at during the weekend, you're at mass, or maybe at an event, you're out shopping, and you see someone you know from the parish, ask them, hey, did you go to a reception yet? And they say no. Say, well, I did, and it wasn't so bad. They didn't lock us in, they didn't beat us over the head, they gave us refreshment, and we were educated, we learned a little bit about what's going on. And it wasn't so bad, right? So can you help us promote this? All right, good news is, so far, we have, counting you guys here today, 118 families have attended our first 4 receptions. It's outstanding so far, okay? And if everyone who says they're coming to the rest of the receptions come, we'll see just over 200 families. That's great. Is it the best? No, we need more people. We always have leftover food. They always try to send me home with stuff. I'm big enough, I don't need any more to eat. So we need to get some more folks in the room, so could you help us out, okay? Just pass it along. If they say no to you, that's okay. Just encourage participation, say, just come and learn, okay? We're not hitting anybody, right? Nobody got held down, and so share that information. And the last T for your treasure, we're asking you to participate. And I will explain that in a moment. But I have some good news I'd like to share with you, if you'd like to hear it. You want to hear the good news? Okay. Well, this morning what's today, Tuesday? Yesterday I got here Monday. I come in on Mondays and I leave usually Thursday or Friday. And I got some pledge cards from people who attended receptions. So I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. So I entered them into the system. I gave letters to Father to sign this morning. And we were at $252,000. $252,000. That's great. But then the money counters finished counting the offertory, so then they handed me more. So I got to enter those. So Father, I have more pledge cards for you. We have 32 families who have pledged or given a gift to the campaign for over $400,000. So we are doing exceptionally well so far. Okay, so we're excited. Okay, we are at 16% of our goal of $2.5 million from just around 3% of the parish. We have 1,058 families registered in the parish, and we have 32 gifts so far. Now, of course, we're going to hear people who are not going to be able to participate. We completely understand that. We've had people who have responded back to our invitation saying, I've moved. I'm not in the parish anymore. Like, so? But, they have obligations at their current parish, and so, we take them off our list. But at the same time, we still have a lot of families out there that we are going to reach out to. Everybody in the parish is going to receive the materials you've gotten today in the mail. If they're unable to come to a reception, we're going to have a meeting of our wonderful volunteers. Where's Bonnie? There she is, my favorite volunteer. But we're going to get together with the volunteers a week from tomorrow, the 26th, in here at 9 a.m. to stuff the rest of the packets to get them in the mail to anyone who's unable to attend a reception. So November 4th and 5th, or is it 5th and 6th? I get confused. But the first weekend in November is going to be what we call Commitment Weekend. Right? Is that right? You sure? I don't remember. I don't know. Sorry. But what we're going to do is we're going to ask everyone, whether you attended a reception or not, to make a commitment to respond to the campaign. Make a gift, a pledge, or if you can't, let us know. And then after that, we have some volunteers that are going to go out contacting parishioners who don't respond. But because you're at a reception, you won't be contacted. Unless, no, I'm just kidding. Exactly. So all this is going to happen. We'll be finished basically with the active phase of the campaign the end of November, beginning of December. That'll be the time where I'll be able to tell Father, this is where we're at. This is how much we have raised. Here are the families who we haven't heard back from. We'll do some follow-up and some mailings possibly. But we're hoping that by the beginning of November to know how well things have gone. And like I said, the receptions have gone really well so far. Now, you got a booklet in your packet there, and Dale and Steve have gone over some of the information in there. I just want to start from the beginning. As you open it up, there's a letter from Father. Father is willing to autograph anybody's booklet personally, so you can save it for posterity. But you'll see in his letter, it says we're trying to raise a minimum of $2.5 million. Okay, it's a lot of money. Believe me, I know. I've sat through what you're sitting through 6 times in the last 22 years since I've been married. Okay, lived in Maryland, 3 campaigns. Lived in Pennsylvania, 3 campaigns, and we're doing one right now. So, Father already asked me to make my gift. I'm like, oh, stock market's not doing too good, Father. So, but that was my excuse. We're still giving, of course. On the second page, page 3, you'll see there's some history of the parish. As you turn to page 4, the challenge and the campaign overview and the costs on pages 4 and 5. You know, how are we going to raise all this money to address all these needs? Like I had mentioned already, we're doing these receptions. We have one tonight, one tomorrow, and one Thursday, all at 7 o'clock. Next week, we have Monday and Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Okay, every family that doesn't attend, once again, we're mailing them a packet of information. We're asking everybody to consider doing something special and something sacrificial. As you turn to page 6 and 7, okay, on page 7, you'll see there's a gift chart. Okay, it starts out at $5,000 and goes up to $250,000. Do you think $250,000 is the biggest gift we'll accept?
No.
Of course not. And at the same time, do you think $5,000 is the smallest gift we'll accept?
No.
Of course not. One thing I want you to take away with you tonight at this reception is this. Campaign is based on one simple premise. It's based on equal sacrifice, not equal giving. Nowhere in your materials does it tell you what to do. We can't tell you how much to give. A, we don't know what your situation is, and B, I don't like getting hit. Okay, if it was up to me, I'd ask everybody for $1 million and see what happens. But don't take that in a bad way, right? If you can't afford it, that's okay. Okay, what is this campaign based on? It's based on sacrifice. We want you to look at the blessings that you have been given by God and give some of those blessings back. That's all we're asking. That could be 5,000, that could be 10,000, that could be 2,000, it could be 100,000. Okay, currently the campaign has seen gifts as big as 100,000 all the way down to $500. Okay, and everywhere in between. Okay, and each person, as far as I'm concerned, made a sacrificial gift. That's what they could do. If everyone in the parish does something sacrificial, we will blow this goal away. We could raise $10 million. The reality is not everyone's going to get involved, not everyone's going to pledge. And there's nothing we can do about it, just we could ask, we could pray, right? Just like I'm asking you to do. So I would like you to take a moment right now, stop looking up here, and look down at the booklet in front of you. Where do you see yourself? Are you on the chart? Are you off the chart? Okay? But pick a number in your head, all right? A number that you feel comfortable. You say, yeah, I could do that every week, every month, every year. Now I want you to go and look at the number above that number, because that's the sacrifice we're asking everyone to consider. So if you're looking at a $5,000 gift, could you consider a $6,000 gift? If you're considering $2,000, could you consider 3? If you're considering 10, could you consider 100? No, just kidding. But in all seriousness, it's what you're comfortable with, and then a little bit more that's the sacrifice. Okay, my pastor asked me for $10,000. I looked at him, I said, well, the market's doing pretty good. I guess I could take some of my retirement and transfer it to, to the parish, and then the market went, so now it's like, oh, I don't know. I do have 2 kids in college too, and I have 2 dogs. Well, one is going to pass away soon. She's very old and sick, so my wife wants to get a new one. So I know what it's like to have expenses, and I know, I know what those burdens are like. So it's up to you, okay? I'm not asking you to fill anything out right now, right here, today, but I want you to take the material home with you today. I want you to read it over, pray about it. If you need to talk to your loved ones about it, your family members, to help you, guide you, do it. Do whatever it takes. If you need to call Father and talk to him, call Father and talk to him. But ultimately, the decision is yours. No one's going to come to you and say, that gift was too big. Or at the same time, your gift was too small. And if you want me to really be honest with you, I don't care what you give. I don't. I really don't. I don't judge. When I first started doing this, I would get offended. I would see people, that's it? But then I don't know their situation, right? I don't know what situations you're in. You do the best you can with what you have. God will take care of the rest. Okay? Now, there are other ways to give besides the gift of cash or writing a check. You can give online via your credit card. We have WeShare. Some of you might be using that right now for offertory. You can use it for this campaign as well. There is one caveat to that. You can't make a pledge and make a down payment with the pledge on WeShare. You have to make your pledge and figure out that monthly amount and make a separate down payment if you choose to make a down payment. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But a simple way to remedy that two processes, if you want to make a pledge over 3 years and do it monthly, and you want to make a down payment, and you don't make a down payment, you instead of doing 36 monthly payments of the same amount, you could do 40 monthly payments of the same amount with no down payment. So the math works out the same. Just because it's being difficult, the WeShare program, that's an option. One of the ways to give that maybe a lot of people don't know about is if you have a bill payer program in your bank account where you pay your bills right directly out of the bank and they send the check, you can do that for the capital campaign. You can do that for offertory. Bill payer is a great option because it doesn't cost anything. When it first came out years and years ago, my bank charged, I think, $1 a transaction. Now it's free. So it's something to look into. Okay, there is a transaction fee with the credit card and using the WeShare. There is a fee involved when you use your credit card, just so you know, okay? Other ways to give, gifts of stocks and securities. If you've held a stock for over a year, it's gone up in value, you can donate it to the parish campaign. You transfer it, you don't sell it, you transfer it directly to the parish through the diocese. You get the tax write-off for a charitable donation, and you don't have to pay taxes on the money because you're not getting it, the church is getting it. I have information on that if anybody's interested. Gifts through your IRA is another way to give. That seems to be very popular, but you have to be over the age of 70 and a half. I don't see anybody here of that age, so. But tell your friends. Okay? Tell your friends. If you're over the age of 70 and a half, you can give directly out of your IRA, and you don't have to pay taxes on the money that you donate. Okay, every year you have to take a specific amount, an RMD, required minimum distribution. You can give a portion of that directly to the parish. I have information on how to do it. Basically, you go to your broker, you say, I want X dollars sent to the church. They'll send a check right out of your account directly to the parish. The one caveat with that is you have to make sure you tell us that it's coming. You have to make sure that they put your name somewhere in the paperwork when that check is sent. I was in Massachusetts. We had 2 gifts of $50,000 from IRAs. And they said, yeah, we're going to give from our IRA. They didn't say what IRA. And when we got the $50,000 checks, we didn't know who's belonged to who. I mean, it's the same amount of money, but you have to credit the right check to the right family, right? So let us know if you're planning on doing that. I do have information on how to do it. The last way to give is gifts of real property. Now, in the 25 plus years I've been doing this, I've seen some very interesting gifts. My favorite, all-time favorite, was back in 1999. I was in California in a small town of Lemoore, where the Naval Air Station is, and the pastor was the priest for that. And he, basically they're building a brand new church. And he had a lot of parishioners that were elderly, and so he asked me, he said, would you go talk to some of these people for me and, let them know what we're doing? So I did. Met this wonderful elderly woman, and she said, I don't have any money, this is all I have is what you see. But I do have this piano, maybe you might want. So I said, well, what kind of piano is it? She goes, it's a 1928 Steinway Baby Grand. And I said, sure. So we had it appraised. The gentleman came in and said, I've been working on this piano for the last 50 years. You know, every once in a while you come in, tune it, and make sure everything was good, because this is a wonderful piano. And it was estimated about $20,000. Woman tells me the story of when she was born. That was a gift that her parents bought for her when she was born. And she donated it to the parish, and the parish was able to then sell it. And she got a $20,000 gift from this piano. So it's just a wonderful way to give without, without having to give out of your finances. Had a parishioner down in Lincoln, Illinois, donated a rental property, just had a rental property, said, we don't want to be landlords anymore. And it was like $58,000, a small house. Here you go, donated it to the parish. Antique motorcycles, antique cars, 500 bushel of corn was donated one year. We had wheat donated one year. I mean, it's just, it's what works for you. We do not accept small children, though. That is a no-no, okay? But those are just different options. Now, in your packet, you received a pledge card and return envelope, okay? On the left side of the card is your total pledge, whatever that might be. If you can give a down payment of 10%, God bless you. But it is not a necessity. You do not have to give a down payment with your pledge. How would you like to make that pledge? Monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually? On every second Tuesday and months ending in Y? I mean, whatever works for you. It is a 3-year campaign. Many people ask, hey, can I extend it over 4 years? Yes. Well, what if I want to do it in less than 3 years? Yes. You just need to let us know, okay? And you just fill in the blanks, right in the middle, monthly, 3 years, 40 weeks if you choose not to do a down payment, and that's it. If you do need information on how to do a gift of stock or gifts of an IRA or anything else, on the far right side, check off a box or write in other. We'll get in touch with you to help you out in anything we can help you with. You can also email us at campaign@mbvm.org. You can call the parish, you can talk to Julie or myself or Father. We'd be more than willing to help you in any way we can, answer any questions that you might have. You then drop that pledge card in the envelope. You can put a stamp on it. You can put it in the offertory basket. You can come and drop it off. If you give online, no matter how you do it, whether it's through your bank or through WeShare, please fill out the pledge card anyhow and just let us know you're doing that. So if you don't fill out the pledge card and you do give online and there's a problem, we don't understand the pledge, because we've had that happen already. It's not the simplest process, but you have to take your time. You know, if you give $125 and you don't hit reoccurring, it's going to charge you once. If you hit reoccurring and you put in the total number of payments, it'll set it up that way. But if you don't, then we don't know what you're giving. Is it just 125 or is it 5,000 or 2,000 or what? So just let us know by filling out the card. And we ask that you try and pray about this and respond about this in the next 3 to 5 days. Okay, the momentum right now is great. We have gone over $100,000 since last week, since the reception last week, where we announced how we were doing. Okay, and you don't have to keep that number of over $400,000 pledges secret either. You can share that. Let your friends know, hey, we're doing great so far, come on. All right, so I want to thank you once again for coming. And I would like to ask Dale and Steve and Father to step back up so we can answer any questions you might have about anything in the materials, okay, that are related to the campaign. So thank you.
Okay.
Any questions that we can answer?
I have one.
In the back first. You're in second.
Yeah, you said something about the diocese and asbestos. Does that mean the diocese is going to help us when we get to that issue? Or did I misunderstand something?
So the floor in the school is, of course, asbestos tile. It's covered by many layers of wax. It's safe. Dale trusts his grandchildren to attend school, that's how safe it is. You know, it's covered with wax or covered with carpet, but the thing is it's our floor for as long as that building lasts, and so it could be now, it could be on the day when that building's no longer usable, we think of something else. We have to deal with that floor at some point in time. It will have to be dealt with at some point in time, and of course, the costs do not go down on abating asbestos. So it is something we would like to think that we can take care of if we're able to do so with this capital campaign. I'm getting there. With the diocese operates the same way that the parish does. The diocese has a budget. They have a little over 75 employees working for them. They do not have a treasury for other buildings. They're supported through the work of their annual appeal to the people and also assessments to the parish. Every parish is assessed right around 10%. So they operate kind of like we do. Thus, we would have to raise the money to do the work that we're doing here. There's not a diocesan treasury that we can turn to for this. So we have to take care of the needs of our buildings and grounds. Thank you though for asking.
That was actually very close to what my question was. Is there any financial assistance either from the diocese or from Bishop?
Okay, good question. We are the owners, the parish owns the buildings and the grounds here. The school leases from the parish. The school building itself is a ministry center for religious education and for parish programming as well. So we are the owners and the caretakers of the school building. Bishop McNamara pays rent to use the building, and so they do assist in that way. Through their rent, we are able to provide for the ongoing maintenance needs of the building. But we ourselves are the owners of this building, so you know, it's up to us to take care of our buildings and work with the school in that way. Yep.
That's all.
Father, I think it's important for everyone to know too that because I worked on the last capital campaign, it's been over 20 years since we've had to do this, and that's pretty darn good. This parish center got here because of that, and then at the other end of the school, the library, the learning center, I think remember we had the kids going to school in the trailers, yeah. So all of that, you know, went into that. So I just think that's a good thing for everybody to keep in their mind too. Thanks.
I would say too is that this really is a crossroads for us when it comes to vitality and viability. If we don't address these issues the way that we're addressing them, they could become emergency repairs. Like we're going to need a roof on the school no matter what. It's like Dale said, about a 1984, 86 thereabouts is the last time it was re-roofed. If it fails us, it becomes a project that we either have to have an emergency appeal for or we assume debt. When we assume a great deal of debt, that then affects our operations. We have to take some of our operating income and finance debt. And also too, an emergency repair, we may not always be able to get competitive bids and get the best deal. But by doing planned and proactive maintenance, by making lists and trying to accomplish them in advance, we are able to look at these projects carefully. I would say that this $2.6 $7 million figure that you see at the bottom could be a lot greater if we waited for all these things to come due and they became emergency repairs. If a boiler failed and we're in the middle of winter time, which has happened, we're not gonna be getting the best deal. We're gonna be getting somebody come out on a very cold day and whatever they can do us for it. I mean, so, yes.
I mean, it's the same situation, we all have homes or whatever we live in, you know, everything takes maintenance, whether it's a driveway, or the car needs tires, or change the oil, we're not asking for anything different here, it's just that we just got a lot larger magnitude, and, there's been a lot of deferred maintenance on this facility and properties for quite a while. Father, I'll give him credit, he's wanted to do this, it's not glorious to tuck point the church, but it does look pretty darn nice now that it's done, doesn't it? So, I mean, but, you know, I mean, it's not fun job, it's not like building something new. You know, it's all, you know, a roof, you drive by, it doesn't look any different, you know, but, the school needs a new roof, and the school needs a boiler, and, you know, the church and the rectory need their items too, but it's, we all have it at home, and we all, and it's not vacant here either, we have plenty of it to do. And a lot of past people's not wanting to spend the money on those things, you know, it's a lot nicer to do fun things, and so I'll give Father Jason an attaboy for that, because he wants to keep it for the next generations, like, you know, our predecessor did for us, so.
And one thing also is, I want to say thank you for what you do week in and week out and supporting the Sunday collection. That remains the lifeblood of Maternity BVM for our operations, for the salaries of our talented staff, for paying our day-to-day bills, and for the missionary work that we do, the missionary discipleship that we try to promote in all things that we do. I must ask that we continue at that same level, and that this capital campaign, we really are asking for people to consider going above and beyond. I realize it can be very difficult, but I just ask everybody to prayerfully discern how they can help this effort, and just to realize what a difference it'll make, that again, our church will continue to serve future generations. Our school building will be a viable place to be a host for Catholic education for years to come, that we won't have any major repairs to interrupt the school year. I personally could not imagine this being a place that doesn't have the little ones running back and forth. I think it's great that we're still a host for Catholic education. I think I saw a hand here, yes.
As far as the parking lot goes, does Olivet use the parking lot during the days that there isn't any funerals?
That's a good question. Yes, they do. Olivet, they use the parking lot during the workday, Monday through Friday, mainly during the school year, but in the summer as well. Many of the offices at Burke, you can't just be any student and use that parking lot. That's prime parking for Olivet Nazarene, and it really does greatly affect them when we need to reclaim it for things, but they understand. They help us keep it free from snow, so they provide the snow removal for it. And it is possible that they could partner with us in fixing that up, but anytime I've gone in and out of that lot, and I don't really drive in it very often, but when I do, or when I'm in the funeral hearse going back into the parking lot, coming back from a funeral, I do realize that grade, and it needs some attention, and with any luck, you know, I am hoping that we can maybe work together on a solution for that parking lot. But at this time, we're just itemizing things, getting bids, so going forward, we'll see how that works out. Either for Dale or for Steve? Okay. At this time, it's been a great conversation today, and it's been great to just to have everybody together like this. Thank you for your time, for your concern, and we ask you now just to go forth and to discern how you can help make an impact and help us remain a viable place where God's word is spread, where the light of Christ is shared with all, and also too where we help bring people up in the faith, especially our children. So when this after the conclusion of this meeting, Tom will be here to answer any particular questions about giving. Steve and Dale can answer any building concerns, and if you have any other institutional concerns, please give them to me. Also too, feel free to call me at any time, or if you'd like to meet, or if you'd like for me to go to you, that'd be great too. That's what I'm here for, so I'd be glad to meet with you, to talk with you about any of these things further. But right now, we place ourselves back in God's presence. Heavenly Father, every good seed that is planted will bear great fruit in your kingdom. The seeds of good works, the seeds of kindness, the seeds of generosity. And every seed that is planted in this campaign will bear fruit to help the needs of our parish. So Lord, we ask you to send us forth back to our homes and to help us, Lord, to discern to how we can contribute to the well-being of this seed that was planted so long ago here at Maternity BVM Church, how we can make this be the best place that it could be for this generation and for generations to come. We ask you, Lord, to bless us, keep us safe, and watch over us through Christ our Lord. Amen. The Lord be with you. Amen. Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.